What's good, fam? Welcome to Subs Over Dubs Anime Review Chainsaw Man, Episode 3. My name is Vision, here with my co-host Rebel. Today we'll be breaking down Episode 3 from our thoughts and give it that good old sub versus dub narrative. So, starting off, beginning of the episode, you have the scene with Power and Denji, right? Talking about, I guess, not necessarily dreams, but aspirations, I guess we can say. It's kind of the same thing. You find out Power is trying to get her cat back. Denji is dreaming about falling boobs, and then I guess he looks Power's way. He's like, wouldn't mind touching those.
That'll work.
Which is kind of funny. And he says this out loud, and I guess Power gets a great idea that, hey, I can use this to my advantage.
That was wild. That episode was wild.
So, again, just going through the narratives, we're starting to see Denji's goals unravel. He's learning more about himself and what he wants and needs. And it looks like it's just a typical young guy, you know. And
relatable.
He's willing to kill for his aspirations. Well, I mean, I guess we all can say we wouldn't go as far as killing someone, but a lot of people are willing to do a lot of strange things to get to their goals. So
I think it's a fine goal. It's a fine goal.
I could
Power, not so much, you know. Like I would choose a different target, but that man got to get it where he can get it.
You could do much worse than the Fiend Power.
That's it. That is true. That's true.
While she might talk a little crazy and stuff, we had to give her a scale 1 to 10, 5 being average. She's at least a 6, if not a 7. I don't know what her necessarily body looks like in totality because the way she's drawn and she wears loose clothes, but just face alone, she's not necessarily ugly. She's obviously not even human, but just from a physical scale, I'd probably put it. She's at least a 6.
Okay, I'll agree. Yeah, like a 7, but it's just the crazy, almost like combatants you know. You like the crazy though. We know you probably like the crazy.
I clearly specified physical attributes.
Oh, okay.
We did not.
Yeah, but it's hard for me to separate those things, you know. But I guess it's cool. About that episode, I have a confession to make. You know, I was talking to you off the side before we started recording. It just feels like each episode that I watch in dub, it's just getting worse. I hate to be that guy that's like, you know, like I know I'm unbiased. I try to. I'm unbiased.
Spilled the beans, guys.
I'm unbiased. However, in that unbiased, you know, like I said, when I root for dub, I root for it. But this is just, and you know, when we were talking about Power, you know, and I told you, that last review for episode 2, we're talking about how you didn't really like Power's voice in dub. And I was like, no, there's nothing wrong with it. I kind of like it. But then more as that that episode progressed, because it was mainly about her, she had more lines. I was just like, I can see what he's talking about. And Denji just seems, I don't know. It's just, I can see the voice actor trying, and he's like not. He's kind of funny, but it's just like not my Denji. You know, I guess you could say.
Like I said at the top of, I think, want to say episode 1, or maybe on the podcast, right? It's not necessarily that the voice actors are inherently bad. Sometimes I feel like they're asked to do these type of voices and they don't really match. Not saying that's the case with Denji, but it's hard to produce the same, I guess, level of conversation. Like, they don't, when it comes to anime and dub, in my opinion, a lot of times they don't talk like normal people. Yes, there are characters.
Yeah.
But like they try too hard to create a character versus just matching a voice that fits. Like, for example, trying to think of a voice we talked about recently. So we've talked about this before. I'm trying to think of his name. So do you remember? Did you watch Tower of God in dubbed or subs?
And sub.
Okay, so I'll give you just a comparison. Do you kind of remember his voice in dub? Not really. Okay, well, just put it like this. You have to take my word for it. The sub version and the dub version both fit the headmaster, the guy with the you know what I'm talking about? Both voice deep, pause. gritty kind of, is a heavy voice, right? And it fits both times. You hear the character, you're like, this works, this fits. Denji's kind of works, but and then you see with Power, the more they get expressive, the more it kind of breaks and doesn't fit.
That's
it feels forced.
I didn't know how to put it in words, but that's exactly the expressiveness, the where they're having to like give more emotion and You're like, okay, you're starting to see the flaws in the voices, or not. I wouldn't say
forced.
flaws, but yeah, it feels forced, and it's not the way that. And to your point, it shows in this anime where it's like the way that they would say something, or the way that this character is set up, was meant for a certain type of voice, which would be like Japanese voice actors. So I could see that, and I definitely right now I'm handing it to sub. I think it fits. It's funny. It's everything that you want in an anime. And like I told you though, I feel like if I would have watched it in dub first, it wouldn't have been as bad. But when you start comparing, it's hard to kind of root when you're like, it's obvious which one is better. Again, there's people like J Money. He's got preferences, but when you really are like, I could go either way, you're just going based off skill, and like what seems right. And here, sub just seems right, and it's like that's the right choice to go. But,
and so I, leader of the sub congregation, will accept you.
I hate this guy.
Come to this side for this series.
For this series, I'll take it.
I know you've been a kind of bumpy ride.
I'm just trying to be unbiased. We both agreed episode 1 and 2 was like meh.
Yeah, it was gonna go either way.
Yeah, but episode 3, like you said.
But I also said I'm staying on the sub train because
you did. Yeah, he hasn't backed down. I'll take that.
Well, I think the things you mentioned happens a lot in dubbed anime
as they progress.
So
like it just gets.
Again, disclaimer. I haven't really watched dubbed anime in a very long. Like the last full dub series I watched was probably Full of Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. That one has good dub as well, and I think that's the reason I watched it. Actually, I might be lying. I think I actually watched it in sub. But anyways, I remember seeing parts of it in dub. But to your point, I think that's going to be a common theme as I watch more and more dub. Us doing these reviews, me watching new series in dub, is just there's going to be times when characters are going to be expressive, and sometimes that person's voice, while it's not necessarily bad voice acting, it just doesn't feel right or fit. It just feels off. So like when Denji, when he gets extra like, oh wow, I'll do anything to, it's just like.
Just kind of sound a little corny. Yeah, you're like, it's like, we don't talk like that, bro.
It's like, man, this is like, and this is why I feels like they, again, I don't know, the director, whoever's like pulling for these people to, the voice actors, and that's the direction he wants to go with it. I don't know why it gets angled this way sometimes, because it seems too kiddish. It should just be maybe a young adult's voice, and maybe it's hard to find a voice actor that has that type of voice. Because when you're younger, and I guess that's a lot of times why they take female voice actors for young
like
males,
kids,
because that voice inflection, like it's hard to capture probably someone who can do good voice acting with that low pitch of voice. Because by the time most younger males hit probably between 13 to 15 to 16, they hit that pitch, and then they can't capture that shorter voice. So maybe that's why. But I mean, Denji is a male voice actor, right?
Yeah, it is.
So. Again, it wasn't bad when he's just talking, but then when you hear his like
the
inner monologue when he's talking to himself, it's just like, I don't know, man.
And even those points were like when he was talking about when she was like, you help me find my cat, I'll let you. So like, and I made a point to like think about when he was saying those things, and like he was like, man, we hate this devil, like we finna take him down. Yeah. I was like, Reese was telling me last time. Or Vision, my fault, name drop. I was like, am I laughing because it's a funny scene, or like is the voice actor really like doing their thing? And I was like, well, I guess in that context it would be funny in any language, So then it was like, before, like when I'm thinking about watching these animes, I'm giving it credit because it's funny, but I'm like, certain things are gonna be funny no matter how you say it or what language it's in. So even to that, when he was being funny, I was like, yeah, it's not as funny as when you said it in sub. So I am starting to discover those like differences, but like I said, it's not terrible, and I can see where it appeals to the people who watch. Like for dub anime, scale of 1 to 10, it's like it's above average. It's like a 6
for dub.
Voice acting. Yeah, the dub voice acting in this show is like a 6. So it's slightly above average, but it's not. To me, it's like the sub right now is like a 9.5.
I would say like the dub is like the voice acting is acceptable. Like it's, you might not like it, might feel a little off, but you could at least you finish the series. It's not gonna detract you from watching it. But like if you compare it to sub, like you're saying,
You're gonna see
it
the
feels like
differences.
a big drop off.
It almost feels like a different story at that point. You know, like it's so different. One of the things that I really didn't like was the what was it, the Bat Devil?
Mm-hmm.
That the dub in that, I was just like, that's to me where it felt the most kiddish. Like it just felt like they tried to use like a voice actor that had deep voice. That was cool, but I don't know, just like the mannerisms and the way that he was speaking, I was like, this seems like you know those.
You do not speak English. We need your voice.
Yeah, and it's just like one of those things where you're like, you know, like those Power Ranger villains that they just like double. That's what it just felt like. They just took like a, hey, you know, like you'll fit, and it's just like that. Nowhere to me felt like the right character. And I guess, you know, some people might not be as picky because it's like a side character type of thing. But I'm like, to me, those things are important
because it stands out too much.
Exactly, it
way.
doesn't flow with the rest of the story. But you know, as far as the episode goes, I liked it. I think it was cool. I think it kind of gave Power a little bit more like
background.
Background and humanity. Like she's like, I hate people, I hate devils, but there is one thing that I care about, you know. And it's like
she learned to care about because she.
Oh yeah, she learned to care about.
She was just trying to
get
it plumped up to eat.
Yeah, and then then she kind of just realizes like, Denji saved my life, so she's not. You learn that she's not totally just like, I hate everything and everybody. It's like you kind of start seeing the cracks in like, I guess her theology and the way that she believes. Like, oh, you know, I think she said something like, humans and devils are like just fiends. What did she say? Like natural. It's like a natural hate. Like, I didn't even have to think about it. Just I already knew that they were bad. So it's just kind of like already starting to shift. Kind of like with Aki. Aki had like a very sturdy attitude, and then just.
He still is.
But being with Denji, he's kind of starting to like loosen up a little bit, you know, and like especially in those first couple episodes. So I like that, and I like the impact that Denji's making in their lives already. It's kind of cool because it's like someone who people ain't really care about. Like this guy was just like eating trash growing up, and now they're like, I think he's starting to be an integral part in these people's lives, and I think that's gonna be cool to see.
Yeah.
You're worth it, King. Just remember that.
Don't do what Denji does. It's too much. You're going too far.
He is doing too much for the boobs. I will say that.
Like you mentioned, the Bat Devil, whatever, throw it away. He is a side character for the most part, but it's just like you said, sometimes it just feels like it's a little off.
Yeah.
So it kind of just turns you away, and then especially like you said, I think you hit it on the nail when it comes to if you had watched the dub from the beginning, never watched sub or knew about sub, you wouldn't feel disinclined. You just accept it for what it is, and just be like, oh, it's not bad. The show is, for the most part, doing good enough to the point where it's like the voice acting's okay, I can tolerate it. Versus you watch the sub, you have a certain vibe, and it doesn't feel off. And it, to be honest, it's hard to really feel off with a Japanese voice unless you're talking Goku. Like none of them are stand out that bad. Just like, man, I can't fuck with. Like, I don't think that's a common thing versus when you go dub anime, because they go in such a cartoonish route sometimes. That feels forced.
It does feel forced. It does feel, and that's how I kind of felt the same way like about My Hero too. Like in sub, it feels a little bit more adult, you know. And then I tried recently watching it in dub just to, you know, obviously we're comparing animes and things like that. I'm like, well, let me just check it out, and it just was like, especially Deku's voice. I'm like, what are y'all doing? I think the reason why like I feel so like I hold on to dub a lot is because in the 90s, dub was good. You know, like you have Dragon Ball Z, you have Yu Yu Hakusho.
You want to know that?
Inuyasha.
You want to know something though? That's the very thing we're talking about. You only knew dub.
Well, yeah, that's true. But that's not, I mean, not 100%, because I can go back and watch Inuyasha dub. I can go back and watch.
But I'm saying though, like,
because I grew up in that aspect of it.
Not even necessarily grew up, but if you go back and watch in sub, some of the characters, you might have this same thing we're talking about happen with the series. Now, I personally haven't done it either. So like some of the classics, you know, Inuyasha, I watched in dub. Cowboy Bebop, watched in dub, and that's not a bad dub either. That's one of the early shows I think that had like it was adults, like there was mature. It wasn't like the only character that kind of had a kiddish tone and a kiddish voice was Ein, but that person is a kid anyway, so it fits.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that'll be interesting looking. We'll, as we continue this series, like we're gonna have a better grasp for this sub versus dub when it comes to the voice acting, because again, I've only watched subbed. You watch mainly, not mainly subbed. My bad. Mainly subbed with some dub, right?
With some dub on the side, yeah.
So it's just gonna be a good thing to refer to. The only person who can kind of give a better insight is Jay, but the problem with Jay is he only watched dub. He only watches sub of he's forced to. So it's like
we need someone with like a median.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. But so, I think we'll end up being our own median, because as we go through these series, we can look at it and we can go 1, 2, 3. Because on average, like I said from the beginning, I don't think dub on average. There's a few outliers, but on average, it just across the board, it can't compare.
Yeah, to me, I feel like the same. But I think, and that's one thing I don't know is like, do I like the dub anime back then because it was actually good, or because it's all I knew? And I'm like, but for me, at least in this aspect, you know, I'm like, everything on Toonami to me was goated. I never questioned it, you know. And then now it's like, is it the quality of dub actors? Is it the quality of like the writers and directors trying to change things up? So that's what I'm kind of curious to know is like, is it just me, or does everyone else agree, or like, is it just something that's changing in anime to where like, okay, it's super popularized now we just gotta like start trying to, I don't know if they're like being more picky and it's like not helping them or whatever the case may be. But that's one thing that I'm really interested, because like as we were talking, I was like, you know, none of the 90s animes or early 2000s were ever like that, and we never questioned it. Like we watched Dragon Ball Z, never questioned it. We know that they gave the emotion, they gave the, you know, so I'm like, is it just like a new generation thing, or
I think it's more so it's not something you're looking for. When we're little, we're just like, oh.
We were just entertained for what was happening in front of us.
He's gathering the energy for Spirit Ball.
For like 20 episodes.
No one's thinking like, why is this guy just screaming nonstop? Like,
true.
That's a good scream right there. No one's thinking that. It's just like, oh, this dude's cool. He's fucking super strong. He's throwing out abilities. Like, no one's even like looking at it from that angle. So I think as we got older, and especially since I watch subs, I look for different things now.
That's true.
I think that's the biggest thing. But getting back to Chainsaw Man, sorry guys, I know we went on a tangent with sub versus dub, but hey, it is what it is.
As part of the nature of the beast that we're, you know, taming here is the debates.
I will take the L so you don't have to, please.
This guy.
It's a sub life. He's even real time. He's seen it firsthand, and we're gonna continue to see it firsthand. But episode build up again. We see Power's background. We get some new insight on Denji's goals, and then. And so Power leads him to the house where the Meowie is getting held captive by the Bat Devil. First thing we see him get worked. I'm like, okay, I guess you're not, like Aki said, you're not supposed to trust a devil or fiends. I guess he's kind of getting some real life lessons. He kind of squared up though. He kind of knew something was wrong.
I did like that, like his intuition was like on point, but it just seems like if he doesn't pull the chainsaw.
He's
like
just average.
He's just average.
Above average. Maybe.
Yeah, but you're just like, man, like I wish you kind of still had those reflexes, because if he was in chainsaw form, she would have never hit him over the head like that. I feel like.
Well, even if she hit him in the head, I don't think it would have knocked him out.
True. Well, yeah, true.
So we get introduced to the Bat Devil. Ugly, but I guess we can assume it's gonna be ugly.
Yeah.
Voice acting was, again, we both don't like it indifferently about just his voice, but man, it turned around quick. Drank his blood. We find out, obviously we kind of know Denji's part devil from Aki's and Makima's conversation in the car, but the devil at the time did not know. Once he drank his blood, and he's like, oh, this tastes nasty, I need to go get some fresh blood, and we kind of see action pop off. So I'll say this, like when they're fighting in the town, the action scene looked really good. Now again, I don't per se like when he goes Chainsaw Man and then it goes 3D, but they do a good mix. You have solid 2D drawing and then the 3D look of Chainsaw Man when he's running around. But I thought overall it was a good scene and some good action. So I think it's giving more and more of what the people are thinking it to be. Again, is it rising to the hype per se? I don't know about that, but it's definitely solid so far, thus far.
I agree with you. I think that what I like about it is, I know we spoke about it only being 12 episodes. I think that's one thing that kind of sucks, because when you're like interested in anime, you're wanting the full 23. But in the same token, because it's condensed, you don't really have a lot of that filler. It's like just straight to the point. And I like that we're 3 episodes in, and it's just like that we've already gotten 2 good fight scenes. Yeah, and like you said, the animation is good. I like the 3D. I think it's a little bit different, and I like how they kind of like almost transition it. It's blended really well, to where it just doesn't change automatically. And you're like, okay, it's blended in really well. It fades out really well, but I really do like that it's just popping off. The fight scenes are good. The animation is good. In sub, the voice acting is good. So just being able to get all of this quickly without having to let it drag out, for 20 episodes while you're trying to build a spirit bomb, it's cool, and it's fun, it's entertaining, and it makes you want to be ready for the next episode. So in that aspect of when we were talking about episode 1, it is getting, for me at least, it is meeting not so much the people's hypes, but the expectation that I had.
Yeah.
It wasn't low, it wasn't high, but I'm like, I'm expecting it to be a solid anime, and it is. It's giving us what we want.
100% solid. And then I think we got a little bit of insight on how the devil the power scaling works, because in the car ride between Makima and Aki, they talked about a devil's power is stronger based on, I guess, everyone's fears of what individual, I don't even know what we want to call it item, but because they spoke on a car devil. You have so you have a literal object, and then you have a literal animal. So you have a bat. So I think whatever the thing is, the more people fear that things can go wrong, the stronger it can be.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting to know, and then see how, think about the most destructive things in the world, like a bomb. If it's a bomb,
that's what I was thinking. I'm like, so then how far does this really go? Where it's like,
where's the scaling go?
What kind of devils are we really gonna get? So that's exciting. I'm really excited to see that, and I guess it's cool because then that gives you so much to work with as like a show. You're like, you could just throw out, like you said, oh, we have an atomic bomb devil, and you're just like, whoa, okay, like how is a guy with a chainsaw gonna like overcome this? So it's really cool, it's really fun, and you can already start seeing the adversity that he's gonna have to deal with as these devils are gonna start coming at him, so I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. We haven't really seen him, I guess we see him struggle with his power, but we haven't seen him be really challenged yet. So I'm interested to see. We know what he can do. He's a chainsaw man, but is there more to it? Can he add more chainsaws? We see him at one point catch a car and his chainsaw just disappear, and he didn't mean to do that. So he has some power or some ability to when and where to use it, kind of like a Wolverine thing. But the bigger question is, can he control? Can he have more chainsaws other places like his feet? Can he have multiple on his arms? So it's gonna be interesting to see how the power scaling works. We understand how some devils can become stronger because it's just the base fear of, like Makima mentioned, if there is a car devil, a lot of people could imagine, getting run over sucks, painful. Getting hit sucks, painful. Just like
people are like, my mom died in a car crash, and you're just like, it all builds up. Yeah, so that's crazy.
The fear fuels the power.
When she mentioned the coffee one, that was kind of funny. I was like, you sure right? Like
you might get burned.
Yeah, but you're not doing any damage with that. So yeah, it's interesting to see, and it's crazy because I feel like you have demons, you have all these things, but this is the first anime where it's a little different. Like you haven't had like the type of devils. It's almost like outlandish, but then it's kind of like it makes sense. So it's tying back to like human fear. So it's like when they were talking about like the tomato devil, he killed it in the first episode. Yeah. It was just super easy to kill, but it's like, why do we have a tomato? And then it's like, oh, well, somebody might have an allergy. So it's like, it's just funny to think about that, and it really just relates to like back to humans, and it's like cool how they're kind of thinking one step ahead in that aspect when they bring us these devils. So it's pretty funny.
Yeah, I forgot. See, that's how.
Yeah, I was like, that thing.
I forgot about the tomato devil. I remember it now, but I was just like,
yeah, it was just a quick. We didn't even question it.
I don't even think we see him kill it. He said he's going to kill it, and then
then he just already did. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, don't let the seed something. He'll come back or whatever. But yeah, so far, I know in the very beginning you wanted to know more information. have they built the world out to an acceptable level 3 episodes in for you? Based on what you know so far?
A little bit. So like,
you got some characters.
You got some characters. You got some character development. You got some exposure, the scaling. I'm still just wondering. I guess my only question left is why these things manifest. So is it like another?
Yeah, they haven't really discussed
so that's like
my
thing.
It's devil power.
But
like
a lot of it has been answered. Like to your point, it's like, okay, well that makes sense. There's these devils because of human fear. But I just want to know what manifests that. But I mean, for 3 episodes in, I've got more than I was expecting to. You know, you do get a little bit of a background in other animes on the first episode. But I do appreciate that they took a little bit of time and kind of like built that out. So I guess once you watch it in that aspect, in hindsight, you're like, okay, I'm glad they did that. Instead of just giving us a quick explanation and then it's like, okay, anyways. But it's they're making it, they're intertwining it in the story, which I like that. So that's cool.
So yeah, I think they're doing well. And we both kind of agree that Dubs definitely started off solid and it's slowly going downhill. It's watchable, but in my eyes, not ideal. But again, good episode, good fight scenes for the most part. You didn't really see him explore a lot of his ability, but he just did a lot of different things. And like I mentioned, when you see him take the chainsaws off his hands, kind of showed a new aspect to his power that we didn't know and he didn't know he could do. So, what else can he do? How far does his transformation? Because like when he goes Chainsaw Man, it's only his head and the chainsaws that come out of him. Is there like a full form of a chainsaw?
Like is that his hybrid? Yeah. Or did like the actual chainsaws like get longer maybe? Like where his reach? Yeah, that's a lot of good questions that I have too, but I'm just here for the ride. I like it. I dig it. It's better than some animes that I've watched that like take a while to build up, and it's like, okay, I can watch this, but I'm only watching it.
I know one anime that takes a while to build up.
Not One Piece. Pops off.
Mid Piece.
One Piece is real. Don't let this guy flame this guy in the comments, please. That's gonna be all over TikTok. You're gonna be the villain.
He's already come to team sub for the series. It's only a matter of time.
You ain't gonna change my mind.
Listen, he's got so much time invested. He has to fight it. He has to fight the good fight. He's like, what did I watch all these episodes for?
I do gotta fight. 1,067 episodes.
Jesus. Ooh, that's a lot. That's a lot of time, man. But I think that's gonna wrap it up. You have anything else?
Nope, that's pretty much it. Episode 3 was pretty straightforward. Really fun to watch.
What's your number for it overall, and then we'll go like your dubbed number for it, I guess, because we both deemed sub at some point.
I would have to give it an 8.5 because I feel like
so far
they were able to fit a lot in 3 episodes without it feeling forced. Like it flows really well. You've gotten two pretty good fight scenes, good character development. It's jumped up from a 7.5 to an 8.5, so that's why I'm hoping that as the season closes, it should get closer to a 9 in my opinion, just off the first season.
Wow, he's giving it 9 stats.
It's fun. Like I said, it's fun to watch. I like it. I'm having fun with the ride, and the only sucky thing is I'm having to wait every week for it.
The life of an anime watcher. But I'll probably just go up slightly at 8. Definitely getting better. The characters, the powers. I'm still interested to see what Aki can do. He's carrying around a sword. Anybody with a sword is usually pretty badass. So see where it takes us.
Like
Makima,
Zoro from One Piece.
Like Makima, she looks very interesting. I feel like she has some type of ability because she's a devil hunter. So I don't think she's just a regular person walking around.
Yeah, I think most of them have like contracts, right, or something like that.
So we'll see.
We will see.
Power, okay character so far, and Denji, of course, looks like he's gonna progressively find more and more about himself and develop into whatever he becomes, the Chainsaw Man. But one thing I will say, guys, before I let you go, this is the power of female attraction can drive you. The man went getting knocked out and sacrificed for the Meowie to like.
He was trying to get that Meowie, all right. He was trying to get that Meowie.
Continuing after he was betrayed to take care of the Bat Devil to get his end of the bargain that he struck.
That had me dead.
By any means. All right, guys, that'll be the wrap for this episode. Again, Chainsaw Man Review, Episode 3. My name is Vision. This is Rebel. We're out.
Later.
Peace.